las noches nacen para quedarse.
El problema no es quererte,
Ricardo Arjona.
es que tú no sientas lo
que el seco no dijo.
Sábado 14 de marzo, Chase Center. Boletos a la venta ya en Ticketmaster.com.
Ricardo Arjona en San Francisco. Se parte de la historia.
All members of Dub Nation know 2 essential truths. 1, the Warriors have the best point guard in the history of the game. And 2, the very best planes in the sky are United. New planes are joining the United fleet every week, decked out with Bluetooth connectivity, screens, and power at every seat, and bigger overhead bins to fit everyone's carry-on, or giant foam fingers. Download the United app and book your next trip today. United Airlines, proud to be the official airline of the Golden State Warriors.
RingCentral will completely transform the way you work. It gives you built-in AI across all your business conversations. Your phone system has an AI receptionist that answers calls 24/7. Your video meetings have AI that takes notes instantly. Even your contact center has AI, so you can help customers faster. It all comes together in one reliable platform for effortless AI communications. See for yourself at ringcentral.com. RingCentral, voice of your business.
What's up, Dub Nation? Do you want to get cash back on Warriors gear? All you have to do is sign up at Rakuten.com/Warriors, where you can earn 10% cash back in store and online at Warriors Shop. Once you're a member, shop your favorite stores like Fanatics and Ticketmaster and watch the cash back add up in your account. Rakuten is the most rewarding way for you to shop and maximize your savings. Join Rakuten for free today at Rakuten.com/Warriors or download the Rakuten app. That's RAKUTEN.
Thanks for showing up, Dub Nation. Nothing beats catching your Warriors live, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back. As the official ticket marketplace of the Warriors and the NBA, even if you're headed to the game last minute, Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can experience all the sights, sounds, and styles in person. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Warriors tickets today at Ticketmaster. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com/Warriors. See you courtside again soon, Dub Nation.
15 years ago, PG&E launched Power Pathway, an education and job training program developed to increase the number of skilled workers in the energy industry. Since then, 85% of the graduates have been hired by PG&E or the construction utility industry. Focusing on students in underserved communities, women, and military veterans, Power Pathway is helping the next generation of PG&E energy professionals build a better future for themselves and a clean energy future for California. To learn more, visit pge.com/powerpathway.
The Curry, pump fake, flyby, 3-ball. With the buzzer sounding!
You've been listening to Golden State Warriors basketball on the Warriors Radio Network. Presented by United Airlines. For tickets, visit Warriors.com or call 888-GSW-HOOP.
Don't you wish you were here?
This Odyssey Sports broadcast was presented by ZipRecruiter. Looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free.
From the game, KGMZ-FM and HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station and the home of the Golden State Warriors and Valkyries. Always live on the free Odyssey app and now coming to you live from the Laughing Monk Studios.
That should do it. The Warriors will dribble this one out. They get back to 5 games above 500. They'll pick up a game on LA, keep pace with Houston. Go to 27-22 for the next 6 are back at Chase Center. Leons will dribble it out. The Warrior fans in the crowd come to their feet. Handshakes and hugs up and down the floor. Steve Kerr's got a lot of respect for Will Hart. He gives him a good hug at midcourt. And your final score, Golden State 140 and Utah 124.
You might not think that highly of the Utah Jazz tonight, though. Was a nice win for the Warriors and one they really needed, and they got the job done tonight in Salt Lake City. Final score, Warriors 140, Jazz 124. Welcome in. It's Warriors wrap-up here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you on this beautiful Thursday evening. 6 o'clock start time out here in San Francisco for that 7 o'clock start in Utah. It's nice. It means I'm with you at 9 o'clock here in San Francisco instead of 10 o'clock. We love that. But a nice Warrior win. Again, 140 to 124. The final. The Dubs, they get a split on this 4-game road trip. And the Warriors have been through the works on this road trip. Of course, right before the road trip ended, they lost Jimmy Butler for the rest of the season. They had a crazy weekend in Minneapolis where they found themselves front and center in the biggest storyline in the entire country. And then they fly to Utah and they take down the Jazz. And despite all of that, they found a way to be 2-2. And you know, we could poke holes in some of the performances, and Monday in Minneapolis was really, really ugly while they were resting Steph and Draymond and Kuminga didn't play and Melton didn't play and Horford didn't play. There's reasons for it. The fact that the Warriors have found a way to make it a 2-2 trip, I think, is pretty impressive, and they deserve some credit for that. Now, we'll see where they go from here. Of course, the trade deadline is 8 days away, less than 8 days away. It's a week, so it's next Thursday at noon Pacific is the trade deadline. So we are approaching exactly a week away from that. It's about a week and 15 hours from this very second as we hit 9 o'clock here Pacific. So there's plenty to talk about as it relates to that as well, and we will get to all of it here on Warriors Wrap-Up. Again, Mark Randy with you, taking your calls and your texts at 888-957-9570. That's both the number to call and to text. The text line is the Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line, again at 888-957-9570. And as always, I've got the YouTube chat up, youtube.com/957 The Game. I see a no, GT3, Green-Eyed Rabbit, Joseph, and a few others. Keep the comments coming on YouTube. I'll keep my eye there as always. Well, tonight, the Warriors, it was a team performance in this one. The Warriors score 140 points, most points they've scored all season. Kind of strange because their last game played on Monday in Minneapolis was the fewest points they've scored all season. They scored 83 points in that game. They respond to that, their lowest scoring game of the season, with their highest scoring game of the season, 140 points versus the Utah Jazz. And you might say, well, it was Utah. They don't play any defense. And to that, I would say you are right. I do think the Warriors executed very well offensively in terms of they created a lot of good looks, and they made a lot of those open looks. They did commit 20 turnovers. The fact that they committed 20 turnovers and still won a game by double digits is kind of impressive in and of itself. They could have been a whole lot better in terms of taking care of the basketball. If they had a good game in terms of taking care of the ball, they probably would have won by 25 or 30 points. But when they did not turn the ball over, they were creating great looks, and they made 53.5% of those shots. They made 23 threes. They shoot over 42% from downtown. And as a result, they win this game 140 to 124. They did some good things defensively, particularly what Draymond Green and Al Horford did on the bigs of the Utah Jazz. Lauri Markkanen, who is one of the best scorers in the league, was just 6 for 14, 1 for 6 from downtown. I want to talk a lot about Al Horford and what he's been doing for the Warriors of late. I think specifically tonight, what he did was allow Draymond Green to kind of lock in on Lauri Markkanen. What has hurt the Warriors defensively at times this season is Draymond is being asked to do so much defensively that it's kind of difficult for him to lock in on a 1-versus-1 matchup against an elite scorer. And Lauri Markkanen, he fits that description. He's one of the best scorers in the league. He's a 7-footer that can space it all the way out to beyond the three-point line. And if Draymond is worried about multiple guys, it's going to be hard for him to limit that guy. But what Al Horford does is, all right, Draymond, you don't need to worry about Yusuf Nurkic or the other big on the floor. If you're there with Al Horford, he will take care of that guy. You just tackle Lauri Markkanen, and that's what Draymond Green did. Other than that, it was kind of a bad day for the Warriors defensively. You allow 124 points to the Jazz. First half wasn't bad. The third quarter felt like a track meet. No one was interested in playing defense in that third quarter. The Jazz scored 38 points in the third. Other than that quarter, the Warriors, I didn't think were terrible defensively throughout this game. Again, there were some good moments, specifically Draymond on Lauri Markkanen. But again, that third quarter was pretty darn ugly, and that's what allowed the Jazz to come back in this basketball game. But then the Warriors responded and scored 39 points in the fourth, and they ultimately win this game. Again, final score of 140-124. I thought the way in which this game ended was also worth noting because it was when Steph Curry and Draymond Green, but specifically Steph Curry, checked out, and then the Warriors immediately put the game away. So the Warriors led by double digits or right around there for the majority of this game. It was an 8-3 Utah beginning. And then the Warriors closed the first quarter on a 31-16 run to take a 10-point lead. Going into the second quarter, they led by 13 at half, and they led by as many as 22 points in the third quarter. But then Utah responded. They go on a 24-10 run to close the third. They got within 8 at the end of the third quarter, 109-93. And suddenly you're thinking, man, all the work the Warriors put in to get up by 22, and it's only an 8-point game going into the fourth quarter. I think I heard Fitz at one point on the NBC Sports Bay Area broadcast say, if you're the Warriors, you now kind of have to win this game a second time. And you go up by 22 points in today's NBA, you overcome that relatively quickly, right? If just a couple things go your way. But he is right. All the effort to go up 22, you look up, it's an 8-point game suddenly. The beginning of that fourth quarter was going to be really, really important. And how do the Warriors begin that fourth quarter? It was not Steph Curry setting the tone. It was Will Richard making a three, followed by Moses Moody hitting a three. 8-point game, balloons immediately to 14. There was some moments of kind of trading buckets for a decent stretch in that fourth quarter. Steph did hit a couple. He hit a three. He then had a great move where he split a double team on the perimeter, got an and one to go down low against Lauri Markkanen. Later on, there was an Al Horford fast break bucket where he wasn't quite cherry picking, but he kind of hung out around half court, then beat everybody else down the floor. Draymond found him for an easy layup. Will Richard stole a defensive rebound away from Lauri Markkanen. They officially called it an offensive rebound for Will Richard, not a steal and a bucket. Essentially going to be a putback there for Will Richard, but he stole an easy bucket away from the Utah Jazz. And then at that point, with the Warriors up 11 at 118-107, 7.5 left, Steph Curry and Draymond Green check out. And this becomes, one of the inflection points in this game. I'll ask you, Warrior fans, 888-957-9570. You're up 11. Steph checks out with 7.5 left. How many of you had on your bingo card that Steph does not have to come back into the game? Warriors up 11, 7.5 to go, and Steph checks out. I know I was for sure thinking, well, how long can the Warriors rest him? When are they going to need to bring him back in? Well, what happens with Steph specifically, but Steph and Draymond on the bench at 7.5 left, Warriors up 11. The Warriors go on an 18-2 run, and this is what I was talking about with it's notable how this game ended and how the Warriors put this game away and who put the game away for the Warriors. So Curry and Steph and Draymond check out. Warriors go on an 18-2 run to put the game out of reach. It was a Will Richard 3 off an Al Horford drive-in kick. That was already 8 points in the fourth quarter for Will Richard at that point. After that, then a Gee reverse layup off a Melton drive and a drop-off to Will Richard, who then passed it to Gee for the reverse layup. Moody came back into the game, hit a right-wing three. Gee drove baseline past Nurkic, hit a layup. Gee hit a left-wing three. Moody was fouled on a corner three-pointer, made all 3 free throws. Pat Spencer split a pair of free throws, and that was the game. That was the big run that put the Warriors ahead for good, and it happened while Steph and Draymond were on the bench. It was Gee Santos. It was Moses Moody. It was Will Richard. It was the others, the guys that the Warriors have been relying on to do some of those things this year, and it's rare where all of them kind of click on the same night. Moses Moody was absolutely amazing tonight. 26 points for Moses Moody, 9 of 15 from the field, 5 of 9 from downtown, grabbed 5 rebounds, had 2 steals. How about this? He played 26 minutes. He was a plus 28. While Moses Moody was on the floor tonight, the Warriors outscored the Jazz by 28 points. In a game in which they won by 16 points, that means while Moses Moody rested, the Warriors were 12 points worse than the Jazz while Moody was on the bench. Plus 28 were the Warriors with Moses Moody on the floor. And oftentimes, plus minus in a very small sample, and one game certainly qualifies as a small sample, plus minus can be very misleading. And oftentimes, it's more maybe indicative of who you're playing with as opposed to are you playing well. Like generally, the more minutes you share the floor with Steph, the higher your plus minus is going to be. And, you know, the more often you share share the floor and share your minutes with, say, a worse player, the worse your plus minus is going to be. That's generally the way that it works. I think what Moses Moody was tonight was not a passenger in the plus minus stat. He was the driver of it. What he's doing from downtown is amazing, and if he can keep that up, the Warriors offense feels different going forward. What he's been doing defensively is at the very least competing his butt off, and what we're seeing from him in effort plays, it is showing up as well. In the first quarter, had a moment where he just beat 2 or 3 different Jazz players for multiple offensive rebounds and got a putback layup. That's just 2 points purely because of effort, energy and effort from Moses Moody. You do not get those 2 points anywhere else. They don't, you lose them. It's only because of a singular person's energy and effort. It's rare where you have a bucket that not multiple people had a hand in. Moses Moody, that offensive rebound, it was multiple offensive rebounds on that one possession. And the putback that he got, it's purely because of his energy and his effort and his physicality on the offensive glass. Steals the Warriors a couple of points. But his three-point shooting is taking all the attention away from that right now. How about this for Moses Moody? In his last 9 games, including tonight, he's averaging over 14 points per game. He's shooting about 54% from the field and over 53% from downtown. Moses Moody, in his last 9 games, including tonight from downtown, is 33 for 62. 33 for 62, Moses Moody, 53.2% from downtown in his last 9 games. Not saying that he's going to shoot 53% from deep for the rest of the season, but if he's just consistently hovering around 40% for the rest of the season, the Warriors' offense looks different, and they desperately need that. Down Jimmy Butler, they just need some reliable scoring. They do not need Moody to score 26 points every single night. That's asking a ton, and no one is going to expect that. But if you just get consistent scoring from Moses Moody going forward, it's going to make a world of a difference for the Warriors. Let's look here at what Moses Moody has done of late in terms of individual games in his game log. So we're looking at Moody now. It is a streak of 9 straight games in double figures for Moses Moody. This dates all the way back to the middle of that 8-game homestand when the Warriors dominated the Blazers on the 13th of the 13th of January. 14 points in that game, 21 points in a win over the Knicks, 12 points in a win versus Charlotte, 13 points in a win versus Miami, 10 points versus Toronto, that blowout loss, 12 points in Dallas, a loss, 19 points in Minnesota on Sunday, 10 points in Minnesota on Monday, and then 26 points tonight. 9 straight games where he scored in double figures. And obviously a couple of those are 10-point games, a couple of other 12s and a 13. He's had 2 games in this 9-game stretch where he scored 20 or more. You do not need 20 from Moses Moody every night, but just the consistent double-digit scoring from Moses Moody makes a really big deal. And if he could turn into, on average, like a 15-point-per-game scorer the rest of the season, that would go a long ways for the Warriors. Moses Moody's ability to shoot the basketball from downtown is one of the bigger developments for the Warriors of late. So that's something to keep our eyes on as the season moves along because, again, down Jimmy Butler, the Warriors are just searching for any kind of consistency offensively. Any kind of consistency offensively. They need it desperately. And Moses Moody maybe is one of the guys that can provide that. He has been awesome. Really, really good of late. Now, kind of has been the story for Moses Moody at times is an inability to make it consistent over the long run. This, though, a 9-game stretch of scoring 10 or more points is one of the longer stretches that he has had in his career. But you go back to December, he had a stretch where he scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He scored 9 or more points in 7 of 9 games in December. But he followed that up with 3 points and 4 points and 7 points. There was a 3-point game mixed in there, a 5-point game mixed in there. So, he has had some smaller stretches, but it's been followed by, stretches right after that positive stretch where he kind of falls out of favor or falls out of rhythm offensively. The Warriors can't afford that anymore, particularly with the injuries that they're going through. So Moses Moody's development is really big going forward for the Warriors. There's no doubt about that. He helps the Warriors to a win, 140-124. Talk about who led the way for the Warriors. It was Steph with 27 and Moody with 26. Then it was off the bench, Guy Santos with 16. A bunch of those came in the fourth quarter. How many exactly in the fourth quarter for Guy Santos? It was 7. 7 of Guy Santos's 16 points came in the fourth quarter. You got 13 from both Will Richard and Buddy Hield. Buddy had 11 points in the second quarter alone. He helped build the Warriors that double-digit lead in the first half. You got 12 as well from De'Anthony Melton off the bench, who continues to get to the rim seemingly almost at will. And you got 11 from Podziemski, who was kind of flirting with a triple-double tonight. Podziemski was 11 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. And then Al Horford, who has moved into the starting lineup, 9 points, 8 rebounds, 5 rebounds and 8 assists, 4 for 5 from the field. Al Horford, a point off of a double-figure scoring night, which would have been 9 different Warriors in double figures. How about this, though, for a bit of history? First time in Warriors franchise history, 5 bench players scored in double figures. Again, Guy with 16, Will and Buddy with 13, Melton with 12, and then Post with 10. And 5 different bench players in double figures for the Warriors in this one, to go with the 27 from Steph, the 26 from Moses, the 11 from Podziemski, and Horford a point away with 9 in a starting lineup as well for the Warriors. So really nice win, a team effort led by Steph, led by Moses Moody, and then everybody else chipping in. They needed it, and they score a season-high 140 points, and the Warriors again win 140-124. 2-2 on the trip and back to 5 games above 500 at 27-22. All right, let's go to the phone lines here on Warriors Wrap-Up. Mark Randy with you, 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. I want to talk about Al Horford in the starting lineup, and we're going to hear from Steve Kerr as well. I wonder if he addressed that, because Al Horford has started each of the last 2 games for the Warriors. I have thoughts. We'll get to that coming up in a little bit as well. For now, though, out to Eric in Millbrae, who wants to join the conversation. What's up, Eric? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Hey, what's up, man? Want to call in, shout out the Warriors. Just really pressed just how gritty and resilient this team has been. There's going to be no easy games. Even a team like Utah, which even when the Warriors are healthy, they struggle to beat Utah, especially in Utah. That's a tough place to play at that altitude. And I just love the way how everybody stepped up collectively. We know now, just being so undermanned, the scoring load can't be just thrown upon Curry. So I love what I saw to Moody. He's got to be that other guy besides Melton. Moody has shown flashes, just not consistently. He's got to be that guy that can give him 15 to 20 points. Obviously, tonight was out-of-worldly. It's rare you're going to get 26 out of him, but he was outstanding tonight. But he's got to be in that range of 15 to 20. As I said, next to me, probably the second most gifted to score right now is probably Melton. He didn't have his best night, but still, he's going to be that other factor. But just collectively as a team, everybody's got to really step up their game. And I like what I saw. Paz, as you mentioned, Horford in the starting lineup was saying, I think Kerr's going to go with that going forward. Was in the starting lineup. Guy Santos was outstanding, chipping in. So it's basically strength in numbers right now. Everybody's got to really elevate their game. This is probably the only way. Not to mention Will Richard. Love what he's doing. This young rookie is really continuing to shine. So it's going to be a team effort right now. To win games, it's going to take all these guys so undermanned. There's going to be no easy game for the Warriors going forward. And so these are the type of games that everybody's going to have. So hopefully this is a good sign the team has come, because you got a tough game coming up the next against the top seed in the East. So you got to bank the wins you can and try to split with the top tier teams. I think is probably the Warriors, because you got the Portland behind you. You want to hold them off. You want to at least maintain 7. Luckily, the Lakers lost. I don't know if the Warriors are going to be good enough now to be catch the 6 seed, but you want to at least maintain the 7 seed going forward. So you got to bank the wins like that. And I'm hoping everybody's a team is going to be stepping up in this final stretch of the 35-plus games, and they can just maintain their position and really not drop off. So a great win tonight, and finish the road trip 2-2, and let's see what they do going back to Chase Center, because it doesn't get any easier for this team. So a shout out to them, though. Everybody stepping up, and I just hope that's going to be the sign of things to come going for the rest of the stretch of the season, because, damn it, they're going to need it. Thanks for the time, man.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Eric. I mean, yeah, right now I think the Warriors' goal is to kind of just tread water. We'll see what the deadline brings, and I know there's been a lot of Giannis drama and talk today, and we will get to some of that. Trust me, we will here on Warriors Wrap-Up. You're going to want to hear what Brian Windhorst had to say today on ESPN about it. If you hadn't heard it yet, you're going to want to stick around for that, because it is really, really intriguing. And I'm talking specifically what it means for the Warriors. Until the deadline comes, I think you're just kind of treading water and trying to, I think as Eric put it, just beat the teams you should beat and give a good punch to the teams that are better than you. Maybe you try to win a couple of games here or there versus those good teams. Now, you don't have that many games until the trade deadline is here. The deadline is next Thursday, so we're talking about 8 days from now, technically noon on Thursday, so fewer than 8 days from this very moment. But before the deadline, you have 2 games left. Detroit on Friday, and then Philadelphia on Tuesday. You play Phoenix on deadline day, but it's 7 hours after the deadline has passed. So you only have 2 more games pre-deadline. Maybe you get a boost and you get somebody in here, and that kind of changes the calculus of things. But I think, Eric, you're right. And either the deadline comes and something changes, or you're still kind of stuck with what you currently have, which is beat who you should beat the Utah Jazzes of the world, right? Beat the Grizzlies of the world when they're coming to Chase Center in a couple of weeks. Beat the Pelicans of the world when you travel to New Orleans. And when you take on teams like Detroit and Philadelphia and, hell, even the Lakers and the Celtics, can you sneak out a win in 1 in every 3 of those games? Can you do that? And if you are, you might have an opportunity to maybe move up a spot or 2 in the West. We'll see. It's too early to be looking that deep down the schedule. But given who the Warriors are right now, unless something drastic changes, you're not talking about trying to, go whatever it would be, 23 and 24 and 12 the rest of the season. I don't know how many games the Warriors have left off the top of my head. They've now played 49 games, which means they have 33 games left. So if they were to go, 25-8, like that's 33 games, that's not in the cards for this Warrior team right now, just given who they are. Unless something drastic changes, that's not going to be what this Warriors season is going to be, in my opinion. It's about beating who you should beat, like you did tonight, and then giving a good punch to some of the others, and maybe you catch a win or 2 here. Maybe that allows you to sneak up a little bit further than we've previously been expecting. All right, 888-957-9570. Let's go back out to the phones. If you want to weigh in, get in line right now. Again, 888-957-9570. Up next is Chardol in Fremont, who wants to weigh in. What's up, Chardol?
I'm Mark Grandy. I'm a big fan of your YouTube channel, 95.7 The Game. I love all the content and videos you make on the platform. As the Golden State Warriors dismantle the Utah Jazz 140-124, behind Stephen Curry and Moses Moody's impressive shooting performance, they combined for 53. They were phenomenal. It's always great to see them on the court. What were your thoughts on the win tonight? I was impressed, man. This was a good overall performance. They got to keep this up if they want to keep this winning streak alive. But it was great calling into Warriors Wrap-Up, and I'll definitely call in next time.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Chardol. I like the word dismantle. The Warriors dismantle the Jazz. I mean, it was competitive going into the fourth quarter. Then the fourth quarter was dominant. It was a 20-2 run at one point, 18-2 once Steph checked out. How crazy is that? Steph checks out, and the Warriors go on an 18-2 run. It's why Steph's plus-minus, it wasn't bad. It was plus 16, but it was not near the top of the list for the Warriors. Plus 28, Moses Moody. Al Horford was a plus 22. In terms of the plus-minus, then it's Steph and then Draymond plus 17. Despite not scoring, Draymond was a plus 17. I think that speaks to what he was doing defensively in this game. And then Podziemski and Curry, a plus 16. It was good to see the others step up, and it was really cool the way that once Steph and Draymond checked out, the Warriors went on their best run of the game, a 20-2 run in total, 18-2 right after Steph and Draymond checked out. And we talked about this so often over the years. It had kind of disappeared a bit ever since the Warriors acquired Jimmy Butler almost nearly exactly a year ago. The non-Steph minutes. Can the Warriors just stay afloat? Steph is still so good, they will largely beat everybody while Steph is on the floor. That's how good Steph still is and the impact that he can still have. But once Steph goes off the floor, what do the Warriors do? The Jimmy Butler acquisition kind of solved things, at least made the Warriors easier to manage the non-Steph minutes while Jimmy was on the floor. But now that Jimmy's no longer an option, how do the Warriors manage those minutes again? And tonight it was not an issue. The Warriors were a plus 16 while Steph was on the floor, and they were even with Utah while he was off the floor. So again, you managed to stay afloat. You did not sink the ship while Steph was off the floor. All you had to do was just stay afloat, and that's what they did. And it's a credit to Moses Moody. It's a credit to Guy Santos. It's a credit to DeAnthony Melton, to Will Richard, countless others, Quentin Post, Buddy Hield, Al Horford, right? Brandon Podziemski. They all stepped up without Steph Curry on the floor. This was the kind of win where you can leave feeling really good about yourselves, and the Warriors will look back at this road trip as maybe the most difficult road trip they've had all season, not because they played a bunch of world beaters, not because it was their longest trip of the year, it was only a 4-gamer, but everything that happened on this 4-gamer, you're coming to grips with the reality that Jimmy Butler's out for the season. You happen to be playing multiple games and staying in Minneapolis for an entire weekend, the weekend where Minneapolis becomes the center of the universe, just about. And I was talking about this after the game in Dallas last week, right here on Warriors Wrap-Up. Steph seemed very despondent. He seemed almost accepting of the idea that maybe this season was a lost cause. Because he was still coming to grips with the Jimmy Butler injury. And the Warriors, I think Eric, our first caller, mentioned the fight that this team showed. Just the ability to put all of that behind him and get this win tonight. I know it's just Utah. Really, I know Utah's not a good basketball team. Danny Ainge probably, is sitting in a suite somewhere inside of Vivint Smart Arena or whatever they call it in Salt Lake City, rubbing his hands together because he is eyeing somebody in the draft. He's trying to draft Boozer out of Duke, right? Or DeBoncha out of BYU. He's trying to get the number 1 overall pick. He's trying to tank for like a 4th straight season. This is not a good Utah team the Warriors just beat. But everything going on for the Warriors, I was pretty impressed with what happened tonight. The Warriors ultimately win 140-124. Plenty more to talk about. I've been mentioning it. Al Horford, he's playing more minutes of late. What's up with that, and is he going to keep starting? I want to talk about that because I think this makes a big difference for the Warriors going forward as well. We will also hear from Steve Kerr. Horford himself spoke post-game as well. We'll hear from Al, and more time for your calls and your texts. And yes, we will talk about Giannis because we have to. Is the Giannis trade going to happen within the next week? We will find out eventually. We'll talk about it next as well on the other side as we continue. It's Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. If you want to weigh in, 888-957-9570. Mark Randy with you. Dubs beat the Jazz 140-124. Back with more Warriors Wrap-Up next on 95.7 The Game.
Straight Talk presents the math of more. Here's how it works. When you say yes to more with Straight Talk, you're left with more for all the other good stuff. So getting an unlimited plan starting at just $25 a month equals more savings for your family's weekend adventures. And with a network covered by Verizon, you can share more from wherever you go. It's simple math, really. More equals more with Straight Talk. Available at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Taxes and fees apply. The $25 plan requires a compatible unlocked device and a new line of service. Additional terms apply.
DQ presents the Spicy Menu. For a limited time, try the new Flamethrower Chicken Strip Basket for $6.99 with spicy, bold strips that heat you up. Served with a side of famous DQ soft serve as a dip to cool you down. That's right, dip those spicy chicken strips right into soft serve. Plus fries and toast, all for just $6.99. And add a new pineapple lemonade sparkler or cooler made with tahini. It's the limited time only Spicy Menu. Get it delivered in the DQ app. Happy tastes good. Participation may vary.
Neuropathy is a debilitating condition that is sometimes misdiagnosed. Symptoms can include pain, numbness, and tingling in your hands, legs, and feet. Neuropathy is a progressive condition that only worsens unless you get effective treatment. SF Bay Wellness is a leader in neuropathy reversal and uses FDA-cleared, non-invasive electric cell therapy to restore nerve function with no injections, no drugs, and no surgery. The treatments have a 95% success rate. If distance is a factor, ask about our virtual consultation option. Call SF Bay Wellness at 844-94-NERVE for the $99 neuropathy evaluation and receive a personal treatment plan that is tailored to your needs. Don't wait another day. Call 844-94-NERVE. That's 844-94-NERVE. Why keep suffering with the painful symptoms of neuropathy? You deserve to live a pain-free life. Start getting the treatment you need for your neuropathy symptoms. Call today.
The NFL is taking over the Bay Area with Super Bowl Experience presented by Jersey Mike's. February 3rd through 7th at the Moscone Center, North and South. Dive into an immersive football festival celebrating all 32 teams, plus interactive games, player autographs, photos with the Vince Lombardi Trophy, exclusive NFL shop merchandise, and much more. It's the ultimate Super Bowl week event with fun for all ages. Tickets start at just $40 and kids 12 and under attend for free. Visit superbowl.com to buy your tickets today.
When the deals drop at Kohl's, you feel it. You see up to 50% off end-of-season must-haves, plus up to 85% off clearance favorites. And suddenly, your whole world narrows to one thought. Must shop now. Your to-do list gone. Your dinner plans forgotten. It's just you and your cart gliding through the store. Yeah, Kohl's deals will do that to a person. Save in-store and online now. Select styles. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohls.com for details.
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems, like snoring, aches and pains, hot sleep, or even an old saggy mattress that can keep you up at night. And our sleep experts have the unrivaled know-how to match you with a mattress that can help. You now get a king bed for a queen price, plus a free adjustable base with select mattresses. For the great sleep you deserve, visit Mattress Firm. We make sleep easy. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-390-1164. 800-390-1164. 800-390-1164.
Save more on the brands pros trust at Lowe's. Right now, get up to 35% off select major appliances and choose from our wide lineup of top brands. Plus, save $100 on a Little Giant 22-foot multi-position ladder. Now just $189. Built for strength, flexibility, and job site versatility. Pros, these savings will only be here for a limited time. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 1/30. While supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for more details.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Podziemski the rebound. Head up with the dribble. Looks left. Feeds Moody. Moody just launches. It's up and it's good. A 3-ball in the corner for Moses Moody. 56-41. Podziemski. Warriors up 15. To Moody. Moody says, I'm hot. Lets it fly, and he is. Another 3-ball for Moses above the break. The Warriors firing on all cylinders here. 14 of 28 beyond the arc. Curry head up with the dribble. Throws to Buddy. Bounce pass in the corner, Moody. Takes the corner 3 and knocks that down. And back-to-back threes by Golden State to open the fourth. They've pushed the lead to 14.
Now back to Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Don't look now, but Moses Moody's hot. Tonight, 26 points, 9 of 15 from the field, 5 of 9 from downtown. Helped the Warriors to a nice win, 140-124 over the Jazz in Salt Lake City. Warriors 2-2 on the trip. They stay 5 games above 500 on this before and after this trip. They're now sitting at 27-22. They've played 49 games already this season. Again, 27-22 with the win tonight, 140-124 over the Jazz. We're going to get to Al Horford. We're going to hear from Steve Kerr. We're going to talk about Giannis rumors. I did want to bring up one text I saw during the break on the Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line. This is from the 510. The 510 writes, am I the only one who thinks that post-haircut Will Richard kind of looks like Russell Westbrook? Regards, Pete in San Ramon. It's funny you say that, Pete, because I don't have Will Richard I don't have Russell Westbrook in my mind, but when I see Will Richard with the haircut, I can't shake Jordan Poole from my mind because they both, of course, were Warriors. One of them still is a Warrior in Will Richard. They both, as Warriors, wore number 3, and they both, as Warriors, began with longer hair and then, got like fades and buzz cuts. And that's how Jordan Poole began his career. It's how Will Richard has began his career. So whenever I see Will Richard with the ball on the wing, dribbling it, and I see the number 3 Warriors jersey on the back, I can't help but think of Jordan Poole. Now, their skill sets are pretty different. Jordan Poole is quicker and a better dribbler, and Will Richard is scrappier and a better defender and not a bad shooter at all. Will Richard was great in this game. He finishes this one with 13 points. 8 of them came in the first few minutes of the fourth quarter, by the way. He was hugely important in this fourth quarter. But, Pete, I'm glad you texted that because Will Richard has not Will Richard has not made me think of Russell Westbrook. He's made me think of somebody else, and that's Jordan Poole. I will say, though, the broad shoulders of Will Richard do resemble Russ a little bit more than Jordan. There's no doubt about that. But I see Jordan Poole a lot when I look at Will Richard. But that was a funny text. I appreciate you chiming in on the Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line, again at 888-957-9570. Okay. Al Horford, I've been noticing of late he's been starting each of his last 2 games played. He started on Sunday in Minneapolis. He started tonight as well. Steve Kerr had previously said that it's difficult to start Al Horford because if you start him, you're going to also start him to begin the second half, and you ideally, theoretically, would want to close with him as well. And if he's only going to be playing like 20-ish minutes a night, that's like almost all of the 20 minutes in those 3 chunks, right? You want to play him, at least like 5 or 6 minutes a chunk. When you get up there in age, it's easier to, I think, play longer bursts, but fewer bursts, as opposed to like stop and start a bunch of times. Like if you're almost 40 years old, it's hard to say play 5 different 4-minute increments. It's easier to play 4 different 5-minute increments, right? Just play 1 extra minute per stretch and have 1 fewer stretch in total. So if you're going to play 5 minutes per stretch, or say 6, but you can only play 20 minutes max, you're going to start the game, you're going to start the second half, and you're going to close the game, you only have like 1 other stretch of basketball that you can play the entire rest of the game. And how can you stay kind of physically ready if that's the case? Well, what's happened of late for Al Horford is his last 3 games played, 26 minutes in Dallas, 23 minutes in Minnesota on Sunday, did not play on Monday, still cannot play back-to-backs, and then 24 minutes tonight. Those 3 games, his last 3 games played, all rank in the top 7 minutes totals that he's played in a single game this season. And the top overall is one that went to overtime, that early season game at home versus Denver, which the Warriors won in overtime. He played 29 minutes in that game, most he's played all season. But his last 3 games played, 3 of the 7 most minutes he's played in a single game so far this season. So it seems to me like he's capable of playing more minutes now. Again, his last 3 games, 26 minutes, 23 minutes, and 24 minutes. He started 2 of those games, and it has helped the Warriors a lot. In each of the last 2 games he started, the Warriors have won those games. In Minnesota on Sunday, and then tonight in Utah versus the Jazz. And he has been a whole lot better of late as well. I talked about this earlier, but I think what Al Horford does is he allows Draymond Green to focus on maybe the opposing team's best forward, whether it is a 3 or a 4 or a 5. Usually it's going to be when Horford is in, Draymond will defend the 4, and that's what the case was tonight with Lauri Markkanen, the Jazz's best offensive player. Keontae George is a hell of a scorer, but that's not a guy that Draymond is going to defend. Lauri Markkanen was Draymond's matchup, and Draymond held him to just 18 points on 6 of 14 shooting. Draymond did an excellent job on him. Now, it was not just Draymond, of course, but I think what Al Horford does is it allows Draymond to have the freedom to say, okay, I do not need to help on Jusuf Nurkic. I can just stick on Lauri Markkanen, and I'll do my best to shut him down. And Draymond, you don't shut someone like Lauri Markkanen down, but you limit him and you make him a volume scorer, and that's what Draymond did. So I think that's what Al Horford allows. And of course, a good player in Al Horford, the more minutes he plays, the better it's going to be. He's now playing, again, it seems like 23, 24 minutes a night, and that is a big thing for the Warriors. I would imagine that also makes Steve Kerr more confident in his ability to start Al Horford, because instead of only being able to play 20 minutes a night, he can play 24 minutes a night. It makes it easier for him to begin each half, to close the game if it's a close game and they need him to close it, and to play another stretch or 2 elsewhere so he doesn't have to sit on the bench and get cold for all too long. So I think that's really important for the Warriors as well, is Al Horford being able to play more often. He's still not going to play in back-to-backs. And, he had an issue with sciatica early in the season, but it does seem like he is as healthy as he's been, and his minutes total is showing that as well. So I'm going to keep an eye on Al Horford's minutes totals going forward, and I'm going to be interested in whether he continues starting, because I think it does give the Warriors an added I've been talking mostly defensively, but of course he's a really good shooter, and he's a smart player with the ball in his hands. He's not an incapable passer, right? He can make a pass as well. I think it gives the Warriors an added dynamic that they don't have with any of their other starters at the center position. So I'm interested in that going forward as well. Okay. We're going to hear from Al in a sec, but before we do that, let's hear from Steve Kerr, because he addressed the media postgame in Utah as the Dubs knock off the Jazz 140-124, 2-2 road trip back to 5 over 500 at 27-22. Here is Steve Kerr postgame in Salt Lake City.
What was your favorite part of the box score?
Not the turnovers, least favorite, but the 38 assists is nice. When we were smart and we made the simple play, we got really good looks. And then when we tried to do too much, we turned it over. But a lot of good stuff, and great win, good way to end the trip. And we got to go home. We have a few days to rest and practice. So a lot of big games coming up.
You started Al now the last 2 games that he's been available. Are you kind of leaning that way a little bit?
Yeah, I really like Al now that he can play 24 minutes, which is where his restriction is. I feel comfortable starting him and still being able to close with him. We can work the math on that, and it's nice having him with Draymond to start the game defensively. So I like what I'm seeing from that group.
Feel like you guys figured anything out these last 4 games playing without Jimmy?
Well, 2-2 for a road trip without one of the best players in the league. The emotional letdown of losing him for the season. I'll take that result for sure. We can still be a really good team. That was the first thing Jimmy said to me, the next day after the results came in. He said we could still win at a high level. And I agree with him, but we have to obviously recalibrate a little bit, and that's what we're doing. That's what we've done on this trip. And hopefully this is, a sign of what we can do. I mean, I've said this to you guys, but Al and Melt have changed our team. Just the two-way capability, Melt's ability to get by people, Al's size at shooting. So even without Jimmy, we've got a lot of depth and a lot of guys who can contribute and win games.
Steph's legs look is it a normal thing? Got a lot of Band-Aids on his legs.
Yeah. You're 37 in the NBA. You got a lot of trinkets, a lot of padding, a lot of stuff. So he's remarkable the way he keeps himself in top condition, and it's a lot of work and sometimes a lot of tape as well.
All right, that's Steve Kerr postgame, relatively quick postgame for Steve in Utah as the Dubs knock off the Jazz 140-124. I hadn't heard that yet, but he was asked by Anthony Slater about Al Horford in the starting lineup, and he said basically what we figured out. More minutes for Al Horford of late. He's up to like 24 now is what he's been cleared for by the Warriors training staff, and that makes Steve Kerr comfortable starting him, which is really good news for the Warriors because I think he gives them something that they don't have from their fives elsewhere. And what he pointed to was exactly what I was talking about. The combination of Al Horford and Draymond Green defensively is really, really good. I was talking more so about what it allows Draymond to do. But, we forget Al Horford is a hell of a defender himself. And he had 3 blocks, I believe. He had 3 in the game. I think all 3 of them were in the first quarter when the Warriors kind of set that tone defensively. It didn't last for the entire game. Utah still ended up scoring 124 points tonight. But I believe all 3 of his blocks were in that first quarter. I can actually check pretty quickly for you. He had 2. 2 in the first quarter did Al Horford, and the other one was in the second. So all 3 were in the first half. And that is something else the Warriors don't really have from their 5 position very often. It does not mean that Quentin Post has not developed as a center. He has defensively, I think, more so than anywhere else in his game. But the block shot isn't really part of his game, and Trayce Jackson-Davis isn't, a shot, changer either defensively. So Al Horford gives them something defensively just in what he is. I think he also frees up Draymond to do what Draymond does best, which is defend the opposing team's best 4 or 5, or maybe even at times a large 3. And he did that great tonight against Lauri Markkanen. Draymond did not score, and I've already seen a lot of these on the YouTube chat and on the text line. The Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line and the YouTube chat, youtube.com/957 the game, that Draymond was worthless tonight and he had no impact tonight. Just tell me you only watched the offensive half of this game, because Draymond was great defensively in this game. I thought he was awesome in this game defensively. That's always where his impact has been felt the most. And I thought it was very, very clear to see the impact he had defensively on this game. Now, I don't think he should be shooting 6 threes every time he attempted a 3. I'm thinking that's exactly what Utah wants. And he was 0 for 6 from the field, 0 for 6 from downtown. I don't need him taking that many shots from downtown. No doubt about that. But I thought what he did defensively was great in this game today. So interesting stuff there from Steve Kerr, and the inclusion of Al Horford in the starting lineup and what that means going forward for the Warriors. I think it does give them a boost going forward as well. Al Horford post-game talked about starting and moving into the starting lineup.
For me, it's kind of what I've been accustomed to, but I understand, ultimately there's a lot of variables that go into it. And I've also learned, when I need to come off the bench and make sure that I come in with a certain level of intensity. But yeah, definitely when I start, for sure, it's something that I'm more used to doing.
All right, that's Al Horford post game. Another one from Al talking about getting used to playing alongside Steph and Draymond.
Well, it's important, just the fact that I've been able to, the past couple games, get some really, good reps with, with that first group there with Steph and Draymond, and getting to understand playing with them and reading stuff off of them. But also, I understand that I have to play with the second unit some as well, so we can have that balance. But for me, it's been beneficial being able to play with those two guys and just really trying to see how I can help and just try to pick things up and learn along the way.
One more from Al Horford talking about just how comfortable he is now on this Warrior team.
At the beginning, I was trying to find my way, but I think now I'm at the point that I understand kind of what I have to do and where I have to be, and ultimately we're just kind of playing, and there's no really set rules. We're just kind of going, and so it's a different challenge for me, but it's a challenge that I'm excited each game, continuing to get better and get more comfortable with all the guys.
All right, that's Al post game. Before we transition out of the Al Horford portion of Warriors wrap up, Steph Curry has also spoken post game. Here's Steph talking about Al Horford and what he means to this Warrior team, specifically going forward without Jimmy.
We all know the conversation of Draymond at the 5. QP had some looks there. Al, knowing the back-to-back situation, but when he's available, he gives us another presence defensively, and he spaces the floor. Unbelievable passer. So he's kind of the full package, knowing it's limited minutes, but he's just such a presence, and it helps Draymond, I know, on the defensive end. It helps us collectively on the offensive end. Plus minus showed that tonight, so it was good.
All right, there's Steph on Al Horford. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a big development that he can now play 24 minutes a night and is going to start going forward, because I said it from the second that the Warriors' offseason business was concluded, and really I said it before because if you remember, the Warriors were in that holding pattern where it seemed pretty clear they had handshake deals in place with De'Anthony Melton and Al Horford. From the second that seemed likely, I remember getting on these airwaves and saying this very thing that I'll repeat right now. The Warriors' best 5-man lineup will be Steph Curry, along with De'Anthony Melton, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Al Horford. Now, unfortunately, Jimmy Butler's out of the picture. The best 5-man lineup right now, it might very well be Steph Curry, Moses Moody, De'Anthony Melton, Draymond Green, and Al Horford. That's not a terrible 5 by any stretch, especially if you get the Moody that you got, not necessarily tonight in terms of 26 points, but the general Moody that you've gotten in the last couple of weeks. When he has been hitting the 3-ball at a really high clip, he's been hustling, and he's been at least showing really good effort on the defensive end. So I do think the Warriors' best 5-man groups eventually are going to include Al Horford, and I think that eventually is maybe now, because he can play 24 minutes a night, and it's easier to play him alongside Steph and Draymond and the other big guys that you have, not big in size, but like the important key guys that you have, because he can play longer over the course of a single game. So we'll see about that going forward. Okay. I do want to make sure we talk about this before we leave tonight, because this has been the story of the day, not just here on this station, not just in Warriors circles, but in NBA circles. Shams Charania of ESPN sent out a tweet early this morning, and then wrote a whole piece, and then went on ESPN on NBA Today and had this to say about Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. Here's the latest from Shams.
Giannis is now ready and prepared for a trade from the Milwaukee Bucks, either at next Thursday's NBA trade deadline or in the offseason. My understanding is, to put it plainly, Giannis has made it clear and communicated to the organization that he believes it's time to part ways after 13 years together and the first championship in 50 years in 2021. And what's changed for the Milwaukee Bucks is they have had a surge of aggressive trade offers made on Giannis, and they are now listening to them. These are offers of all-star caliber players, multiple draft picks, but this has been brewing for the last 9 months. Giannis and his agent Alex Saratsas have been very upfront with the Bucks organization about his desire to compete for a second NBA championship. And where this Bucks organization is now is they're dealing with being 9 games under 500. They're the 12th seed in the Eastern Conference. They're now being surpassed by the Charlotte Hornets at 11, and they're more jockeying for lottery positioning than even Giannis's return from the calf injury.
Okay, so there's Shams on ESPN today essentially saying 2 things. One, Giannis is ready for a trade. I don't know how that doesn't qualify as asking for a trade. He has said he will never ask for a trade out of Milwaukee. This is essentially asking for a trade out of Milwaukee. But 1, that he's ready to be traded, and 2, that the Bucks are ready to listen to trade offers. Okay, that is the development because the Bucks have previously not really shown any interest in trading Giannis. That's number 1. Okay, Shams later said on ESPN, Shams, what exactly do the Bucks want for Giannis?
My sources say that they're giving indications that they want either a young blue chip talent and or a surplus of draft picks, and probably a combination of both things as they sift through these offers this week and next week's. They're not in any rush because they could handle this in the offseason, but in the offseason, that's where Giannis will have even more level of control because next year will essentially be the expiring final year of his contract because he has a player option in 2027. And so the closer you get to the end of your contract, the more leverage a player like Giannis will have in determining where he ends up because any team that trades for Giannis needs to know whether he wants to be there long-term given how much they're going to have to give up.
Okay, so that's all the important stuff from Shams. Again, the first thing, Giannis is open to a trade. The Bucks are open to listen to trade offers from opposing teams for Giannis. What do the Bucks want? They want either or a blue chip young player, which is a young player, probably someone like age 25, 24 or younger, that is already proven to be a good player in the league, and a boatload of draft picks. That is essentially what Shams has said. Now, what the Warriors have is access to a bunch of first-round picks that not a lot of other teams do. The Warriors have essentially their entire war chest of first-round picks. They did not have last year's first-round pick because they traded that to get Jimmy Butler, but that's already passed. The only other draft pick that is a question for them is the 2030 draft pick, which is top 20 protected, and it's on its way to the Washington Wizards as part of that Jordan Poole Chris Paul trade from 3 years ago. If that pick does not convey, which means it appears in the top 20 in 2030 and the Warriors own that pick, then it simply becomes a second-round pick. So the odds are, just in terms of percentages, right, there's, 20 is more than half of the teams in the NBA. If the Warriors get that pick in the top 20, they don't lose a first-round pick at all. It simply turns into a second-round pick. But you don't know about that until 2030. But that is the only moment, that is the only first-round pick that the Warriors don't fully 100% already own their own rights to. So they could trade up to 4 first-round picks this very moment if they were willing to, in order to get the Bucks to pull the trigger on a Giannis trade. They could also do, at least 1 or 2 pick swaps if they want. You get into some, nitty-gritty details of, the Bucks don't own all of their picks, so they can't swap a pick this year. So that's going to factor into what years become the first-round picks that you trade away, what years become the swaps. A lot of details that don't really matter. The larger point is the Warriors can offer, in terms of picks, first-round picks, they can offer more than any other team in the NBA at this very moment. That changes come the offseason, because in the offseason, you have the next draft go by and all of that, and then you have teams that get access to more of their picks down the road. A team like the Miami Heat, for example, could trade up to 2 first-round picks in this very moment, but when the offseason comes, they could trade 4 first-round picks. the New York Knicks, who have also been rumored as a potential Giannis Antetokounmpo landing spot. That's a team that there's been reporting that's the team that he wants to go to. Well, right now, the Knicks have no first-round picks they can trade. In this moment, they have no first-round picks, which means they're basically out of the running for Giannis at the trade deadline. But by the time the offseason comes around, they have 2 first-round picks that they can trade. So the Warriors have a gigantic leg up in this moment, but it's going to be essentially up to the Bucks in terms of, do they want to trade Giannis within the next week, or do they want to kind of encourage a bidding war come the offseason? We shall all see how that plays out. And I just got a comment that came in on the YouTube chat, youtube.com/957thegame. Someone asked, Grandy, is the deadline next Thursday afternoon at noon? Yes, that is correct. The deadline is Thursday, February 5th. I believe that's the 5th, right? Let me double check that for you. Thursday, yes, February 5th, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. Noon Pacific, 3 Eastern on Thursday, February 5th. That is the deadline. There is a chance, obviously, like happens with most deadlines, where the paperwork gets sent in right before the deadline, but we don't learn about it until after the deadline. But yes, the deadline is Thursday, February 5th at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. My guess is that the Warriors aren't able to get this done because the Bucks are probably going to want to encourage a bidding war come the offseason, but there is no doubt that the Warriors have a leg up on everybody else in this very moment, and that's what Brian Windhorst had to say on ESPN earlier today as well. Here's Windy on the Warriors and Giannis.
A team, if they're going to make a straight-up trade, you're looking at teams that can give the most opportunities. The Golden State Warriors are a team that immediately rises to the top of the list. As far as the teams that are out there that can make a straight-up trade with the Bucks, not 2-team, 3-team, 9-team, 12-team trades. You can just make a team versus team trade. The Warriors hold all of their future draft assets. They can trade all of them, up to 4 firsts and swaps and stuff like that. Steph Curry is there. They have immediate need for a star player. This is where this discussion begins, is Golden State, and everybody else, I think, is going to have to try to beat a strong Golden State offer if it comes.
And I think Wendy is absolutely spot on. The way that I see it is, if Giannis gets traded at the deadline, I would venture to guess it's going to be to the Warriors. If he does not get traded to the Warriors at the deadline, he will not be traded until the offseason. I think the Warriors are the only team out there that, one, has the motivation and the ability to pry Giannis away from Milwaukee right now. I think what likely is going to have to happen in order for it to happen is the Warriors are going to have to be very willing to part with a lot of valuable assets that they have been very hesitant to part with up to this point. It's up to all 4 of those first-round picks they can trade. It's going to be it makes the most sense for it to be Jimmy Butler, because that's how you make the money work easily. But if it's not Jimmy Butler, it's going to be, Jonathan Kuminga and a bunch of others in order to make the money work. It might even be Butler and Kuminga, and you get somebody else back like a Bobby Portis or a Kyle Kuzma in addition to Giannis. Who the hell knows? I do think, though, reading between the lines, the likeliest scenario of a trade ahead of the deadline is to the Warriors. It's just a question of if the Bucks feel like the Warriors are giving them enough in this moment for them to forego a potential bidding war in the offseason. Because in the offseason, you would have teams like the Heat, like the Knicks, maybe even the Hawks, and maybe a few others that might find their way into this conversation. Maybe the Spurs, if they fall short this year, maybe they want to try to acquire Giannis and build up a Twin Towers with Giannis and Wemby. Could you imagine? There could be other teams that try to get in on the action, and maybe that's what Milwaukee feels is best for them. We shall see. I do think it's going to take the Warriors having to wow the Bucks in the next week in order to get that done. I do think the only way that a trade of Giannis happens at the deadline is if it is to the Warriors, because the Warriors are the one team, I think, that can give the Bucks enough to even make them consider it at this point. I do think what's most likely is the Bucks wait to the offseason in order to get this thing done. I do want to go back to the text line in just a second, but before I do that, I want to let you know that you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, an Odyssey Sports station and the home of the Golden State Warriors and Valkyries, always live on the free Odyssey app. coming to you live from the Laughing Monk Studios. This was sent in about a half hour ago, and I apologize for not getting to it now, but I wanted to wait until we got into this Giannis conversation. This came from the 415. The 415 writes, first, in the present, this was a really good team win. Shots went in, but at least the supporting cast stepped up to help Steph. Second, I wonder what the order of operations will look like for the Warriors front office. Prioritize having a shot at Giannis or looking for a more lateral move to get a bit of reinforcements until the summer. It's interesting, 415. I think what the Warriors are focused on right now is Giannis. And again, it's going to take, I think, the Warriors being willing to part with almost everything in their war chest in order to get it done. Because in my mind, and I think it makes logical sense, the Bucks should think their best chance at getting a major haul for Giannis is in the offseason when you have multiple teams competing against each other for the best offer. So I would venture to guess it's not going to happen this deadline, but I think that's where the Warriors' priority is right now. What I will say is the Warriors run into a little bit of a tricky situation if, say, they don't wow the Bucks with a great offer that makes them willing to pull the trigger right now, but the Bucks say, you know what, hold off for now. We will revisit this in the offseason. What do the Warriors do then? Because the Warriors could pick a couple of paths. They could say, okay, Milwaukee, we will hold on. We're going to hold on to all of our picks. We're going to hold on to all of our young assets. You know what? We'll even put up with another half season of Kuminga for you because maybe you want him in the offseason. And the Warriors essentially say, you know what? We're not going to do anything, at least anything major, at the trade deadline. Is that what the Warriors do, or do they search for something else? My gut tells me for the Warriors, it's either a home run move like a Giannis or not much of anything. Maybe a small move here on the periphery. But if there is no Giannis at the trade deadline, I don't think there's going to be much of anything for the Warriors at the trade deadline. But then you get to a point where, okay, you now enter maybe into a bidding war for Giannis in the offseason. And maybe you lose that bidding war to, say, Miami. Well, what do the Warriors do then at that point? If you've been holding on all of these assets, specifically with the idea of maybe Giannis eventually asks out, what do you do if you lose the Giannis sweepstakes? The Warriors do have the ability to pivot. They have, again, all of those picks. They have a lot of contracts that become very valuable just in terms of expiring money. They have Kuminga on a team option. They have Jimmy Butler, who becomes an expiring deal over the summer. And they don't have a lot of money on the books beyond next year either. So they do have the ability to swing another big move for somebody else. And who knows what star is going to become angry with their current teams. It could just be Giannis this offseason. It could be 4 or 5 different stars. We don't really know. I understand why that's frustrating for Warrior fans because what they've been kind of faced with for years now is just endless optionality. Endless, well, we have all of our assets so that when the time comes, we can strike. Well, the time maybe has come for Giannis, and what happens if you don't strike? Who's going to be the next white whale that you chase for a while? At a certain point, you just got to take advantage and take the shot. So we'll see where it all goes from here. My thought is you have been waiting for this moment for such a long time. If this is why you said no eventually on Lauri Markkanen, if it's maybe why Paul George didn't work out, if it's why, any of the bigger deals last maybe it's why Kevin Durant didn't work out, although that was reportedly Kevin Durant wanting to say no, but for whatever reason, none of those things happened. If in the back of your mind that was all to be prepared for when Giannis asked out and you don't capitalize when he has asked out, that's a tough pill to swallow if you're Warrior fans, in my opinion, because so much of this has been just do anything to help Steph, and it's been delay. Wait till Giannis asks out. Wait till Giannis asks out. And what do? What's the pivot if Giannis asks out? Let's say he goes to the Heat instead of the Warriors. We'll see where the Warriors go from there. That's far away still, of course. I'm talking about this offseason. The Warriors do, I think, they'll have the ability to strike before anybody else because they are the team that currently has a gigantic need for a superstar and has the ability to give the Bucks at least what I think most would consider a fair package, which is 4 potentially first-round picks, and a lot of those coming after Steph Curry retires, which might be pretty valuable picks if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. So we'll see how it all plays out, but that's my general read on the situation. It's going to be a lot of fun talking about it for the next week. There's no doubt about that, because the trade deadline is, again, about a week away now, a week from tomorrow at noon. Thursday, February 5th, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. That is the NBA trade deadline. And I would imagine the talks around Giannis are only going to heat up even more as the week moves along. Steph Curry spoke post-game. He was asked about all the rumors and all the Giannis talk. I don't know if he was asked specifically about Giannis by name. Doesn't want to tamper, obviously, but he knows what the general question was about. Here's Steph talking about all the rumors and trade talk going on about his team specifically. Here's Steph postgame.
Our job is to keep winning games and keeping our energy as high as we can around here. We're not ignorant to what's going on around the league. Rumors and trade talks and who's on the block and all that type of stuff. So I know what's going on, but right now it's just about trying to continue to win, because if we lose sight of that on the court, all that other stuff doesn't really matter.
That's a very diplomatic answer from Steph Curry, not really focused on that part, but he did say he knows everything that's going on, and I guarantee you, if there is an official offer from the Warriors placed in front of the Bucks, it has the blessing of one Wardell Stephen Curry on it. It has Steph's stamp of approval on it if there has been an offer made specifically from the Warriors to the Bucks for Giannis. One other thing that is interesting about this thing, I talked about how I think the offseason becomes more challenging for the Warriors to win, because that's when other teams get access to more picks. For example, the Heat can trade 2 first-round picks right now. They could trade 4 in the offseason. The Knicks can't trade any first-round picks right now. They don't have any to trade, but they could trade 2 in the offseason. That's kind of one thing that gives the Warriors an added benefit or leg up in this moment, but probably hurts them come the offseason. There's one other thing that I think helps the Warriors in this moment as well, and maybe would lead to Giannis potentially facilitating a deal to happen at the trade deadline. Giannis is eligible to sign a new 4-year max extension next season. However, in order to sign a 4-year max extension, you have to be with the team that you're signing the contract for 6 months. And if Giannis is traded in the offseason, that means he cannot sign that extension until like January of next year, which means there's a whole half of a season for him to potentially get hurt, and maybe it damages that contract that he could get. So if he wants to take all of the risk out of the situation, or at least a lot of the risk out of the situation in terms of that next contract for him, he should want to get traded at the deadline, which would mean he could then sign that extension with his new team before next season begins. That I do think benefits the Warriors, because again, as I've said, I think the Warriors are one of the only, maybe even the only team that can give the Bucks a meaningful offer that might make them willing to say yes to a Giannis trade at the deadline, and force them to hold off from kind of forcing a debate for Giannis in the offseason, right? 3 teams, 4 teams competing at once for the rights to trade for Giannis. That contract extension, it is a big deal. And if you trade for him now, you can sign him to an extension before next season begins. And as far as contracts go, you want to get that out of the way ASAP, so a potential knee injury or whatever doesn't impact your future profitability. So we'll see how it all plays out, but I do think those are a couple of things that could help the Warriors just slightly, give them a little bit of an edge maybe over everybody else at this point, in this moment, at the trade deadline. That all changes, of course, if it gets to the offseason and Giannis is still a Buck. Okay, that's going to just about do it here for Warriors wrap-up tonight as the Dubs knock off the Jazz 140-124. Up next for the Warriors, they got tomorrow off. They return home versus the Pistons on Friday. The Pistons, best team in the Eastern Conference by a pretty big margin. The Pistons 34-11 this year. The Knicks and the Celtics tied for second in the East at 29-18. The Pistons a full 6-game lead on everybody else in the Western Conference. The Warriors have the Pistons again coming up next. Then Philly at home on Tuesday. They're in Phoenix a week from tomorrow on Thursday, in LA versus the Lakers a week from Saturday on February 7th. So the next 4 games, Detroit, Philadelphia, then Phoenix, and the LA Lakers, the next 4 coming up for the Golden State Warriors. Quick look at some of the other games around the NBA today. Teams around the Warriors in the Western standings. Lakers are the 5, T-Wolves are the 6, Suns are the 7, Warriors the 8, Blazers are the 9. The Lakers got blown out in LeBron's return to Cleveland tonight. They lose that game by 30 points. The Cavs dominate the Lakers in that game, so the Warriors gain a game on the Lakers. I'll tell you how far behind they are in just a second. The Timberwolves beat the Mavericks 118-105, so the Timberwolves stay on pace ahead of the Warriors. The Warriors gain an extra game on the Mavericks, who are behind them and have been playing slightly better of late, but I don't think you got to worry about the Mavericks catching the Warriors. And then the only other one of maybe any kind of interest is the Spurs, who beat the Rockets. The Rockets have been struggling a bit of late. They are the 4, now only a half game ahead of the Lakers at the 5, and Minnesota, with their win, is tied with the Lakers, just percentage points behind, but essentially tied with the Lakers for the 5. Phoenix the 7, the Warriors are the 8. The Warriors 3 behind Houston in the 4 seed, 2.5 behind the Lakers and the T-Wolves for 5 and 6, and 2 games behind the Suns for the 7th seed in the Western Conference. Now they are 3.5 ahead of the Blazers for that 8th spot, also 3.5 ahead of the Clippers, who have won 3 in a row and are 9-1 in their last 10. They're playing the best basketball out of anybody in the NBA right now. They have been on fire, and the Warriors might soon have to worry about them behind them in the play-in spot, but they are a full 3.5 ahead of the Clippers at this point right now. All right, that'll do it for Warriors wrap up tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Mark Randy signing off. We're back, of course, tomorrow. The Joes on the Morning Roast. Tomorrow means we're a week away from the NBA trade deadline. I'm sure you will hear a lot of Giannis talk tomorrow here on 95.7 The Game. The Morning Roast, 6 to 10. Steiny and Goo, 10 to 2. Willard and Dibbs from 2 to 6. Plus, Steve Kerr on with Willard and Dibbs tomorrow at 5. You're not going to want to miss that. I am sure they will ask about deadline plans. They can't ask about Giannis specifically, or at least Steve can't talk about Giannis specifically, but I guarantee you there will be a trade deadline question or 2 asked of Steve Kerr. That's coming up tomorrow with Willard and Dibbs here on 95.7 The Game. All right. For Cam Williams, for Steven Risotto, I'm Mark Randy. Thanks to all of you for tuning in and for adding to the conversation tonight. I appreciate it as always. My name is Mark Randy signing off. I'll talk to you next time right here on 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, if you've got to use 3 votes and you decide, hey, they're going to fall off because the next round of veteran players is going to come up